All right, so Trump threw another temper tantrum again. He posted on Truth Social that all trade negotiations with Canada are terminated, all in caps, like he's breaking up with the country. I thought about waiting for him to talk before I posted this up, but there's a different point I want to make from this whole meltdown. Because it's not just about trade, it's about the pattern. Because every time Trump lashes out, it's Canada and even the U.S. citizens that pay the price. I'm also going to talk about a report from Vermont from a few weeks ago. They're bracing for fewer Canadian tourists this fall. Apparently, they're worried that Canadians won't come to see their leaves change colors. Now, I have to ask, are leaves in Eastern Canada somehow different than the ones in Vermont? Because to me, it's kind of like leaving Vancouver just to see the trees turn orange in Seattle. Are they the same trees or are they different? I really don't know, and I don't understand this report. Today's background comes from Nicholas, who snapped this photo from St. Adolphe de Howard. Did I pronounce that right? I hope so. Let me know in the comments if I did or didn't. This place looks perfect for fishing, or just unplugging for a weekday and getting away from all the chaos. Appreciate you sending this over, Nick. All right, let me show you the ad that got Trump all pissed off.
Are at stake.
If you ask me, Ronald Reagan spoke the truth in his speech from the 80s. It's exactly what's happening right now. But I guess Trump didn't like that the province of Ontario posted the actual truth online. So this latest outburst, this tantrum, is going to have another domino effect. And I'm guessing by the time this video publishes, it'll already be all over the news. Here's a report from CBC on the Trump's latest outburst.
Ashley, can you take us through precisely what Trump is saying tonight?
Adrian, Donald Trump declaring on social media that he's officially called off trade talks with Canada. It's over an advertisement from Ontario's government that's been playing on American networks. Ontario's premier recently launched the $75 million anti-tariff campaign using a video with the voice of former President Ronald Reagan. It's from his famous address in 1987. And in the video, Reagan is heard saying high tariffs lead to retaliation by foreign countries and trigger fierce trade wars. Trump wrote on Truth Social that the Ronald Reagan Foundation said it's fraudulently used. The foundation posted online that the ad misrepresents the president's radio address, and Ontario didn't have permission to use it.
Now, I'm not too sure about the permission part of the claims, but I really don't understand how Reagan's message could be misinterpreted. It's clear as day as what he said, and it's just as valid today as it was back in 1987. My next question is, who's actually in charge of this Reagan Foundation now? From what I found, the CEO is someone named David Trulio, and just from a quick Google search, I didn't search that hard, it looks like he's pretty aligned with Trump policies. I really wish we could hear from Ronald Reagan himself, just to see if the foundation CEO really speaks for him or for someone else.
Trump also went on to write how important he says tariffs are to his country's economy and said, quote, based on their egregious behavior, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated.
Let's bring in Katie Simpson in Washington. Katie, a huge blow to the momentum around trade talks, but it is true that Canada has seen this before.
Yeah, Canada has navigated this nightmare before and got through it, was able to sort of get things back on track, but it did deliver a massive blow to momentum that seemed to be building in the summer. And now Canada is finding itself once again in this very difficult spot.
Now, as she said, we've been in this situation with Trump before. I don't know how many times. But I have to ask everyone, how much more patience do we really have for this as a country? This is exactly why I've been saying we need to start looking for other trade partners and begin moving away from relying on the United States as a whole. I know in my last video, I talked about Canada lifting the EV tariffs off China to help our canola farmers. And some of you had mixed opinions on that. Though to be fair, I think the majority of you said we should lift them. But when you see antics like this, why should we keep being loyal to the US? And going back to the EV topic, why should we have 100% tariffs on Chinese EVs just because the US decided they want it? It's something to think about.
What I've been told previously by senior Canadian government sources is whatever we're hearing publicly, it's likely way worse behind the scenes. That is what has been this sort of pattern in the past when it comes to these kinds of big threats and these big blow-ups. The last time Donald Trump was this angry at Canada, it had to do with when Canada was about to impose its digital services tax. Canadians will remember he put a note out on Truth Social, seemingly without much heads up or warning, that he was again going to halt those trade talks because he was angry about that policy. What we saw at the time, Canada eventually decided to late night issue a statement on social media just before the actual tax was supposed to kick in, announced that Canada was not going to impose that tax. And it took some time for Canadian officials to sort of gear things up and get things moving again after some momentum had been building.
Ah, right. It was the digital service tax the last time Trump wet his diapers. Personally, I don't think we should have lifted them back then. But I'll be honest, I'm not really qualified to say why or why not. What I do know is, by lifting them, it gave Trump the idea that he can force Canada to do whatever he wants. So in this situation now, Canada might end up having to go back to Trump, maybe even retract the commercial just to smooth things over. But my question is, why should we? Now, I know there's way more to this than my limited political knowledge or knee-jerk reaction as a Canadian. But this pattern isn't going to stop. So I'll throw this back out to you watching. We're basically in another digital service tax standoff with Trump. What do you think Canada should do this time? Let me know in the comments below.
Remember, the last few weeks, Canada had been trying to inch closer to the finish line to try and get some tariff relief. Mark Carney was just here in Washington in October. He and Canadian officials had said they've sort of instructed teams to get to sort of a landing zone to lower some tariffs. But now everything appears to be off.
Well, I mean, and so here comes the impossible question, right? What now? Where does this leave the negotiations?
Well, Mark Carney is going to need to possibly get some FaceTime with Donald Trump at these major international summits that are coming up in the days ahead. There was no formal bilat plan between Canada and Donald Trump on the sidelines of these major summits, but they are expected to meet in passing. Canada is going to have to do something to appease U.S. President Donald Trump to try and see if he'll change his mind going forward and to see if perhaps he will consider reopening these trade talks. If he doesn't, Canada and the U.S. is headed toward a really difficult renegotiation of CUSMA.
Yeah, winter's coming. All right, Katie Simpson in Washington tonight. Thanks, Katie.
It's already hard enough dealing with Taco, and now we're in another situation just like the digital service tax. It feels like Trump wants Canada, or really any country that he's dealing with, to constantly appease him, to make him feel like he's won in something. The reporter mentioned that Trump and Prime Minister Mark Carney will be at a summit together. And when I looked it up, I think it's the ASEAN summit happening next week in Malaysia. I can't help but wonder, is Trump going to take off early again, like he did in Canada? Hopefully something can come out of it. And my guess is that maybe next week, Trump will be happy again. I don't know. But we can't keep going through this back and forth cycle with the United States, especially when it comes to trade. Trade is on, then trade is off, then trade is on, and trade is off. Then it's back again, then it's off. Wax on, wax off. I know our government needs to handle this very carefully while looking at other options. But as people of Canada, you and I, hearing stuff like this just makes me want to boycott the US even more. Products and travel, we're already doing that. But what else can we do to send a clear message to the Trump administration that we're done? I don't have the answers, but I would really love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Now here's another report and opinion from Bloomberg Television.
Just walk us through what pushed Trump over the edge here. What was in the ad that rattled him so much?
Yes, good morning, Giovanna. This does seem like this ad really infuriated the president. This is an ad that the government of Ontario put out. It features Ronald Reagan talking about the potential negative impact of tariffs and what the government of Ontario, which is one of the hearts of Canadian industry, was intending to do is to target Republican areas in the U.S. to try to kind of sway Republican voters, the key constituency for Donald Trump, to convince them that tariffs may not be the greatest thing in the world. This is obviously something that really hurt their economy locally. And if we zoom out a little bit, this is just a reminder of just how rocky the relationship with Canada has been ever since Trump returned to the White House. And even though there has been a sense of stabilization recently and talks have been happening, Mark Carney was in the White House a couple of weeks ago, and that meeting seems to have gone well. That really important trade relationship, which is worth almost $1 trillion a year, is still very uncertain. And while the two leaders will both be in Korea this next week, they might have a chance to discuss this issue. It doesn't look like there's anything immediate planned, so there are a lot of questions that remain about the Canadian economy.
How come you're only mentioning the Canadian economy? This isn't just going to hurt Canada. It's going to hurt the US economy too. And the people who voted for this? They're the ones that really needed to hear the message about the tariffs. Because it's pretty clear they still don't understand what a tariff actually is, or why their grocery prices, their import products, and everything overall cost of living is going up. Now, they did mention they'll be meeting in South Korea, so maybe I'm wrong on that. I just saw that both Prime Minister Mark Carney and Taco were going to be attending the ASEAN Summit in Malaysia. I don't know, maybe there's some overlap. I'm really trying to learn more about this, both from a political as well as an economic point of view, and what it means for Canada. And like I've said before, I'm not an expert in these topics. I'm actually waiting for Klaus Kellerman to cover this on his channel, because I know he'll break it down way better than I can. And by the way, Klaus, I'm not sure if you watched my videos or not, but congratulations on hitting the 100K mark on your channel. Huge milestone. And keep doing what you're doing. And maybe one day, hey, let's have a chat together. Now, moving on. I came across a report out of Vermont, and they seem to be worried about Canadians not coming down for their yearly trips to watch their leaves change color.
Highways this time of year as tourists flock to the foliage. But this fall, Vermont could be seeing fewer friends from up north.
State data shows Vermont-Canada border crossings are down by nearly 30% this year. Their credit card spending down 47%. Channel 3 Sophia Thomas is live in studio now as businesses continue to brace for fewer Canadians.
John and Alyssa, according to the Vermont Department of Tourism and Marketing, Canadians make up 5% of our annual tourists, bringing in $150 million. Fall is typically the busiest, most lucrative time for Vermont businesses, but with Canadian foot traffic and spending down this year, the season might not be the showstopper many depend on.
Ontario native Roger Rye made some of his earliest memories in the U.S.
I've been coming to the States since I've been a child.
Rye and his wife drove south to Stowe for some early season leaf peeping. It's a trip some Canadians are skipping this year.
I think a lot of my friends are upset at the way Trump has treated the Canadians. I might get shot as a Canadian, but I am a fan of Trump.
I know. A lot of you are watching right now probably facepalming just like I am. The fact that he's a Canadian and he's down in the US right now taking this interview, I kind of already knew where this was going the second that he said he's a fan of Trump. But hey, he's free to do whatever he wants. Just don't complain if something happens to you south of the border or at the border. Now, like this guy, I've been to the US since I was a kid. My earliest memory was going to Disneyland when I was 6 years old. Since then, right up until this year, I used to go pretty often. But unlike this guy, I don't support Trump at all. And that's where he and I are different. Now, this whole leaf peeping thing, what is this? Did anyone in our community ever do this? I really don't have much to say about this because this is literally the first time I'm hearing about it. But I really want to understand why Canadians would need to cross into the US just to see the leaves change colors when we have so many trees and forests in Canada.
The couple is staying at the Green Mountain Inn, which is seeing between 10 and 20% fewer Canadians this year.
They've been coming here 25 years plus, and they're just not making the trek down.
Some of their most loyal customers even reach out, apologizing for missing a season.
We've gotten emails from our guests saying that, we really love the Green Mountain Inn. We really want to support you, but, given our president and what he's done, they'll come back in 4 years.
This person actually sounds like she gets it, sort of. Especially since she mentioned what her president has done and didn't try to blame it on tariffs, exchange rate, or the weather. But I hate to break it to you. Even after 4 years, I would not expect the same number of Canadians or even international tourists to come back to your city.
Down the street, fall is Stowe Mercantile's main moneymaker.
Foliage definitely takes the cake.
She says tourists from around the U.S. should keep them busy this season, but they're missing their Canadian business.
I think that we will be okay, but we definitely, we invite them down here, they're our neighbors, and we love to have their tourism here in Vermont.
Rye encourages his friends to cross the border, but it's a losing battle.
I tried to defend President Trump, but really to no avail.
Do you feel like you're one of the outliers in your community choosing to still come to Vermont?
Oh, probably, or just the States in general.
Mr. Canadian Trump supporter, you actually have some sensible friends there. Friends who care about the country that they're from, unlike you, who openly supports the guy causing chaos in his own country and around the world. If you feel that strongly about Donald Trump, maybe it's best that you move down there.
This slowdown is especially critical in the Northeast Kingdom, with at least 30% of its visitors and tourism dollars coming from Canadians. In a statement, the state's Tourism and Marketing Commissioner told me, quote, "Travel has the power to bring people together, and we sincerely hope to welcome more Canadians to Vermont for foliage, the upcoming ski season, and beyond."
Travel does have the power to bring people together, and Canadians are still traveling, just not to the United States. We're going to Mexico, Costa Rica, Portugal, Spain, UK, Australia, pretty much everywhere else in the world except for the US. So don't expect Canadians to be back anytime soon, especially after Trump's latest tantrum. Now my thoughts on all of this. I purposely showed this segment after Trump's tantrum incident because I wanted to emphasize on our why. Why are we boycotting Vermont and their fall leaves? Why are we not buying the US products? I'd have no problems visiting the US if it weren't for the guy at the beginning of the video, being the one in charge of the nuclear codes. And I know the vast majority of you watching right now would agree with me. The latest Trump tantrum just reaffirms that Canada needs to diversify its partnerships. And on a citizen level, if you ever feel like you're losing momentum, or it's okay to have just one drink of that Budweiser crap they call beer, remember the Truth Social post right here. Because we still have over 3 years left of Trump, and I don't think this is going to be the last temper tantrum that he throws at Canada. If you found this video helpful, hit the like and subscribe button so this message gets out to more people, and share it with your friends as well. And if you're still here and want to check out more of my videos, check out the ones that are popping up on the screen now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.